Round 3 of the BMW IBSF four-man World Cup, and it is a snowy afternoon here in Altenberg in Saxony in Germany. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside at the track. Too tough to tame as the snow starts to fall, getting ready for our second and deciding heat. And John, we've got a fascinating battle in prospect.
Well, we have a couple veteran drivers out there that you would expect to be atop the leaderboard. Alexander Casinoff, he won the opening event in Whistler, bronze medal in yesterday's two-man competition, and you know, Casinoff he's one of the elite in the field. Little mistake there in that treacherous 11-12 quarter combination, and he's in a bronze medal position. But this guy, Francisco Friedrich and team, well, he won the two-man event yesterday. He's won a lot of two-man events in the last couple of years. And here in the four-man, you know, he comes down the track, and another day at the office, he's in a position to have a chance to win the medal. But boy, this is surprising. He's quarter second back to your team Johannes Lochner. Out of nowhere, this guy, he's second ever World Cup. His first one was in Whistler early this year when he got a bronze, but he was so much faster than everybody at the top of the track. Made that mistake down below, and he's got a quarter of a second lead, which is an eternity of time in four-man bobsleigh. It's his race to lose.
It is. Johannes Lochner, quarter of a second ahead of Friedrich with Casinoff. Benny Meyer perhaps snapping at the heels as well, looking for a medal, hot off a great two-man day yesterday. Rico Peter, our four-man points leader this season, another solid run from him. Look just outside the top 10, Oskars Melbardis, Ollie Biddulph, Lamin Dean. Justin Crips a long way further back down than he would like to be. 20 sleds started and successfully negotiated the track in the first heat. And like training, now the snow has returned. Ice temperature will be a solid -4.5, so that means it'll be quick, but the snow will build up, and that will continue to hamper the performance of the sleds as the race progresses. So the leader goes last of all, and he might have the worst conditions of the lot. But of course, when the weather comes, John, nothing remains constant, so it can fluctuate.
Well, the jury is informed. No commercial breaks. They're going to run the sleds at a quick pace. Nico Walter, he's on the outside of the podium at the moment, and but you know, the snow coming in makes him to run this sled quickly, and if there better not be a crash, because a delay with the crash could cause some havoc with the straightaways, which already see a lot of snow in the straightaways.
Well, look at the crowd. You can see how much snow is falling on them. It's really actually starting to pick up quite notably, even since we came into the booth about 10 minutes ago. And those tubas and whatever euphoniums from the umpire bands, they're going to start filling up with snow when they stop playing. Our reverse order start this then. 20th place after the first heat, Dorin Grigore of Romania. 19th, Dominic Dvorak, and so on. They go in reverse order of their first heat performance, with the leader the last man on the ice. And if Johannes Lochner feels any nerves, he never really shows them. But this could be a big day for him. We had a first-time ever winner for Germany in the women's skeleton, a first-time ever gold medalist for Germany in the men's skeleton. We might have that in the four-man race as well. 20 sleds to go in the four-man competition in Altenberg, Germany. Round 3 of the World Cup. Dorin Grigore of Romania, first to go.
Great lines down the track, but he had the worst start of the field in the first run, and it's pretty tough to overcome the start deficiency. And there's a little skid right off the bat. Look how much snow's in the track already, though. Look at the lines that the sleds are making. And this could be iffy as we get to the last 4 or 5 sleds.
Well, one of the good features for the drivers is that the really critical crossovers are all covered, so there won't be snow sliding the sleds around.
Well, watch the snow coming up here. Yeah. Look at the line. He's really quiet the way he steers the sled. See him get out of here. The exit slingshot effect on 11-12, a two-quarter combination. That might be the most challenging on the planet.
73 miles an hour.
Watch out here. He's going to have to steer hard. Yeah, he's pretty pedestrian run, but he's pretty safe driving. 56.06. Boy, that is 37 hundredths of a second slower.
Well, that might be largely down to the amount of snow. I think we're not going to see anything like the speeds that we saw in the first heat because of the snow lying in the track. It's like when you're driving your own car, it causes friction, it slows you down.
Well, the coaches are celebrating because these guys now have Altenberg in their rear view mirror. What a season opening sequence. Whistler, Lake Placid, Altenberg, the 3 toughest tracks on tour. And you know, that's why those coaches were so happy that their athletes are through and down.
And there's the weighbridge. The sleds and the athletes will all be weighed to make sure that they comply. Meanwhile, they are heading for the leader's box. So Romania leads. Next up is the first of 2 sleds from just across the border in the Czech Republic. This is the younger of our drivers, Dominic Dvorak. Dvorak definitely looking as though he's going to be a very bright prospect for the Czech Republic.
4th best start in yesterday's 2-man competition. Very impressive, and this is their home track. They're not far from the Czech border here. 11th best start in the first heat, which isn't bad. I mean, 5:21.
Outstarted a few luminaries in his first run.
Well, that's an improvement, and you know, you can see the drive lines of the sleds, and it's the snow. He's got a pretty good lead over the Romanians. Exit here 3-4. A couple people had some real problems there. Yesterday, the 2-man race, Nico Walter lost a medal. That mistake between curve 3 and 4, so we'll keep our eyes on that pivotal part of the track. 61 hundredths lead. Now the only thing preventing him from being the leader at the bottom is crash. Still 61 hundredths. He's pretty good. It's pretty good for Dominic Dvorak. He did not compete in this event last year. His only race was in St. Moritz, and in Königssee, never made the cut, 23rd and 21st. So I think this kid's got some potential. 2-man kit he had yesterday, the sled was beautiful.
Yep.
So the Czech's got a few sponsors on there, so
great
they know how to
looking
market
livery on this side as well. Yeah, a whole different bunch.
You're a driver in the sport. You got to find a way to market yourself, raise the money, because I'm sure he has to pay for his own equipment.
I think he's doing a good job with it as well. No worse than 18th place here. Or 19th place,
the energy, the big sport utilities. Tough to get them into a skid, but when you get them into skids, they have their own minds and they go in their own direction. 2-man, you can get this 2-man in a skid, get it out of a skid pretty quick, but 2-man's a sports car. These things are big sport utilities.
A lot of weight on the pendulum when it starts swinging. There's Dominic Dvorak. He moves into the leader's box for the Czech Republic. His teammate will be coming up shortly. But first, a couple more sleds to get out of the way. This is Uga Zalems, the 3rd of our Latvian sleds. Former sporting background, tug of war. So he's gone from pulling things to pushing things.
13th in this race last year.
Just 7 hundredths of a second quicker than Dominic Dvorak in the first run. He started 1/100th quicker, so barely the blink of an eye between these 2 sleds. And there are a lot of little tight battles all the way up this top 20 order. 2-man race yesterday, we had 3 dead heats in the top 20 alone. None yet in the 4-man race.
That decent start. 5:20 in the first run. 5:27 there. That's a deficiency.
Giving away his lead as he sits down.
Speed on the left. You could have the best start time and not the best speed. That's relative to the power steps of the athletes getting in, getting down on the sled, settling, and not making the sled go left to right, alter its forward direction. Only a 200s lead. And he had some problems down on the exit of Kreisel in the first run. We'll keep our eyes on him. He's down 100.
There was only 700 between them in the first heat. This is going to be very close today.
Much better. Really costly mistake in the exit of Kreisel. This looks like a much cleaner run. Yeah, this is what you expect out of him. Latvians, very well tooled at the sport. Equipment starts. Good job for the Czech Republic team.
Uga Zalems, the leader.
55.49. He's only 200 slower, so that's a good sign that, well, he's also on a much better run.
There you go. So yeah, better run. Snow slowed him down a little, but fewer errors. So a combination of a slightly slower track and a slightly better drive means that he is just a couple of hundredths difference between the first and the second heat. He moves into the lead. And there's a few at this end of the top 20 who had items to address after the first run.
Everybody's got a different way of getting in the sled. But, you know, how many times do I say cat-like movement? Get in, get down, get into that little tiny space. 4 huge men into a bathtub or a little tube. Not easy.
I tell you
cohesion,
what,
cohesion.
We say bathtub. I was thinking about this yesterday. If we turned up at a hotel and our bathtub was that narrow, we'd be going down to reception going, what's this? That's not a bathtub. We've got to come up with a better simile. Cody Basque from the USA now, the Night Train 2. Steve Holcomb's old ride.
Surprised these guys had the 18th best start in the first run. They were much better than this. Top 6 in the United States with a 5:29. Boy, surprised at that. Plus, Cody had a big problem. Top of the track. 3-4. He did it again.
Talking to Christian Reich, he said it's the easiest thing to do on this track in a 4-man.
Watch out here.
Tiny steer has
to be. He just can't get through. 3-4.
The sled's so long and the transitions are so short. Christian Reich was saying it's so hard. You've got to be absolutely millimeter perfect to get it right.
This is pretty good now. He's only got about 14 trips in this sled. I don't know how many trips he's had down this track, period. But he's starting a much better run.
Not that many either.
Much better run for Cody Basque in the Night Train. 4 athletes in this sled from 4 different states, from Oregon to Maine. And what a diversity in the sled, and 55-25.
Much better run.
1700's better. That tells you how bad his first run was.
And on a slower track, definitely.
Yeah, so good job for Cody Basque in the second run. He would have done that in the first run. He'd have been up the top 11 or 12.
Yep. And there you go. And again, it's experience. You know, teammate Stephen Holcomb's been to this track a dozen times. Cody, 2. So that's the big difference.
How old is he? 22. He's a youngster.
Yeah.
Here, he just has had problems here all week long. Little tap there, 2 to 3. You know, and then he comes out between 3 and 4. Look at the back end of the sled here. Every trip this week, he's had a problem there between 3 and 4. That wasn't too bad, but still, that did cost him some time.
Big crowd here in Altenberg in Germany for the final day of competition, the 4-man, the blue-ribboned event. And from just across the border, Jan Verber and his team from the Czech Republic. Cody Basque of the USA is our leader. Jan Verber was in 16th place in the first heat, just 7 hundredths quicker than the American, who had a much better second drive.
Jan Verber had a top 5, top 6 finish here a couple years ago. This is, as we said, the Czech home track. 5:22, pretty consistent. That's what they had in the first heat. He gets out of curve 1 without a skid. He drives through the snow. See the exit of 3 to 4 coming up. This is very crucial. Perfect. Green numbers, but it's down to 4. He had a much better start time than Basque. So this could be red numbers by the time we get to the Chrysler, unless Jan Verber finds the perfect line. And that was looking good, but he might have made a mistake and we didn't see it up there at the exit of 2 or 3. 4, stop the bleeding right there. He can still catch Cody Basque down here with good drive, and this is an experienced 35-year-old pilot. Boy, but he's dropped back more. So Cody Basque, United States, will stay in the lead. 1700s. Coaches look on. Again, Cody Basque had a great heat.
Yes, he did.
If he posted that in the first round, he might have been up in the top 10.
And the experience of the track allows you to gain that consistency because you know what to expect as the weather changes. And today, very different from the 2-man ice yesterday or from training.
600s to better start than Basque, and they lost by 17 at the bottom. So it's not that Verber had a bad heat. It's maybe Cody had a best heat of the year for him. Look at the cohesion getting in here. Look at the brakeman. Power step. You see that? That last step into the sled gives you that power step, the extra speed, and then the cohesion is sitting down. That gives you your start velocity. crucial element to success in four-man bobsleigh.
USA lead, Canada next on ice. This is Justin Crips. Jesse Lumsden was with him in the two-man sled yesterday. Josh Kirkpatrick, Ben Coakwell joining them. Chris Spring and his team having a couple of days off. Spring with a knee issue. Couldn't compete here. They're in Prague, doing a bit of sightseeing before they head to Winterberg. So Justin Crips is Canada's sole representative in the four-man competition. Cody Basque, the race leader, with 5 of our 20 sleds down the ice.
A little surprised that Justin and Team Crips are back in the position they are. This is a very good group of athletes, very experienced driver, and he has a little issue coming out of one. Not too bad, but he did have the runners, checking the runners back and forth. He's got a pretty substantial lead on Cody Basque and just beat him by 800ths at the start, so Crips should be the leader here unless he finds some way to make a mistake on this track we call too tough to tame. This is the Darlington of NASCAR, this track right here. Darlington of bobsleigh, excuse me.
3200s at the Kreisel, holding his advantage, keeps a low line as everybody except the Germans do.
He's got to use this as a much better heat for the Canadian Justin Crips. Oh, but he's airborne, 13 to 14, and he's still trying to check the runners, and he's late there. You get laid up at 11-12, you don't catch up with yourself till you come across the finish line 400 meters. And then look at the time he lost, 1700ths back. So that means that Cody Basque and him at the exact same time.
Cody Basque did a 55.25, Justin Crips a 55.29.
Yeah, so he's 800 slower. Yeah. He was great till 11-12, 13-14, and I'm sure they'll show us the back end of the sled was airborne, and there's been a lot of people going airborne between 13 and 14.
He'll be disappointed, the crew a little relieved.
Here's 11-12. This sets you up for 13-14, so this doesn't look too bad, but watch the left side of our screen. That looks good there, but ooh, he climbs. Now watch the back end of the sled here. Airborne. Doesn't look like much, but all that, when that air like that, that puts all the pressure on the front of the sled, the nose, and that causes the skid there, and then skid at the next curve. And
offline into 15, not where you want to be with all the G-forces there. Justin Crips, the leader from Cody Basque and Jan Verber. Simone Bertazzo of Italy drove himself into 14th place in the first heat. Can he find a little bit more now? Only 200ths quicker than the Canadians, who have just preceded him down the ice. Now they go on 3. They went on Douai in the first heat. That's a little bit of a cohesive start. 5:28 first getaway.
Not good. Well, you know, Bertazzo's still 50-60%. This is a guy in the twilight of his career, and it's been a great career. World Cup victories on his home track in Cesana. We talked about his prowess. He won a world championship two-man medal way back in St. Moritz in 2007. So this is one of the veteran drivers in the field. But injuries, look at the lines. Yep. It's like a tourist bomb is coming down the middle. Took that German line there in the exit of Kreisel.
Again, talking to Christian Reich about the high line the Germans were taking, he said that's high line is high risk. If you can dive out there and hold it, you get speed. He said, I don't think many other drivers will be trying. Oh, by a hundredth of a second. How close was that?
I saw him coming back. I kept on seeing he's 1600ths on 13-14. He can't get 1500ths in the bottom 200 meters. There's the veteran pilot right there. There's the guy who can find time. And he had some huge speed in the bottom. Simone Bertazzo, twilight of his career, but boy, he can still drive a bobsleigh.
Beat Crips by 200ths in the first run. He ends up 100 faster over 2 runs. That's how close racing gets on this track. 100th of a second over 3 kilometers of ice.
You know, how good is this line? You won't find anybody to come that clean, that quiet, out of a 9 to 10 and into Kreisel. Now watch it. He takes this German line. If they let this go, the Germans find a way to climb really high on the end of the curve here. Keep our eyes on this, because this is what the Germans do right there at the end. They get up higher than everybody else and dive out of there.
It's that horseshoe effect. Great Britain's Lamin Dean had a little hold at the start. Lee Johnson, the coach in the red jacket at the back, saw a track worker after the 60-second countdown clock had started. They had to reset their huddle.
Didn't have a very good start either.
This time, no such issues, but he had a little bit of a rocky ride down. Let's hope he can clean it up.
Ooh, problems! They have an Olympics champion on this sled.
Yeah, Mark Lewis Francis.
But somebody just fell there. That push bar is finally in. The start velocity, less than 45 kilometers an hour, which is, boy, that's 28 miles an hour. You really need better velocity than that, but of course they fell on the sled. But they've got 1400s in the bank, and Lamin, that should be enough to have him be the leader at the bottom, but he has to be no mistakes allowed. He stopped the bleeding there. He had a very bad first heat.
Speed is a fraction better than Batazzo, the Italian. Little skid out of 12.
It's been a tough weekend for British bobsled. They crashed in two-man, they crashed in women's. They got two sleds here in four-man, and it looks like Lamin Dean will be at the bottom as the leader by 200.
Oh my word,
look
it's
at
getting
the last,
very close.
Last three sleds separated by 300ths of a second. Now, Lamin, he went 55.09 in the first heat, 55.38 there. But the start mishap.
Yeah. Didn't make the cut in the two-man race yesterday, was outside the top 20, but let's take a look at this.
On the left side, let's see where his mishap is as he jumps up onto the...
Yeah, I think that's little... Tremaine Gilling at 3 misses his footing
right
on
there. Yeah,
the little
really
bail.
low there. Yeah, he just slipped right there.
Yeah, right foot comes off.
Or does he get knocked out? Yeah, no, he just slipped.
His right foot came off.
And he's, on the sidewall. Cup 3 times. How many hundredths of a second are those worth right there? That's a lot.
Mark Lewis Francis at 2 is just
waiting. He's trying to get him in.
There.
In fact, he's pulling him in. See him? He's pulling
that's
him
Andy
in.
Matthews on the back.
That's teamwork.
Got to get him in. Got to get your buddies in. Nobody gets left behind. Well, there's Lamin Dean. He leads by a fraction. His teammate is next up. Come on! Great Britain's Ollie Biddulph. Number of four-man World Cup starts you can count on the fingers of one hand. And he was in 12th place after a really strong first heat. This is his first four-man race of the season in the World Cup.
He did pretty good in that first round. I was impressed. Decent start. And there's a race within a race, and the two British teams here, trust me, Ollie Biddulph would love to be British #1 out of this race. So, 5:22, like his teammate, Lamin Dean. See if these four guys get in, get down, the speed. Look at the best speed, Vriba. 46, best speed so far at 60 meters. That's that power step into the sled, and the athletes getting in, getting down cohesively, especially going around that first curve so they don't skid on the exit of curve 1.
Jill Fear on the brakeman in the summer set the third fastest ever 100 meters recorded by a British athlete. Enormous speed he has.
And now he's only 24.
Yep.
A couple years ago, he'd never make the cuts.
400s ahead of his teammate Lamin Dean. Now he's 100s behind.
Ooh, watch out. Little skid on the X. Watch out. Watch out. Four-man bobsleds. Tough to get these big trucks in a skid, but when they get into a skid, they have a mind of their own.
He's going to drop a few spots because there were 3 sleds covered by 200ths of a second. So he drops a couple of spots down to 5th place.
All 4 of these guys are happy that they're in, through, and down. And Altenberg will be in their rear view mirror in a couple hours because they're all traveling to Winterberg tonight.
And the other thing is the mechanic who was repairing the 2-man sleds has no further work to do on the 4-man sled. So that's good news too.
Hey guys, well, you're at the bottom.
Yeah. Bend the bounce.
Ollie. One heat was good. The second one was a little bit edgy.
It was good halfway. This was where it came undone.
Right here. Look at that. Now the skid in the 13-14. Now he's scrambling to get into 13, get over the right side. He's on the left side, still skidding. Now watch. Oh, he's so lucky.
Sled just goes straight up there. He really hauled it off. But, good job. Held on to it. Didn't panic. Did what he did to get the boys down. Lamindina, Great Britain leads. Oscar's Melbardis has had 4 four-man runs in training, 1 in the race. That's his total four-man runs for the year.
Well, this is the 2016 world champion who missed a couple races last year.
That gold medal run was his last four-man drive before Wednesday.
Yeah. And he missed a couple races last year with a back injury, finished off with the World Championships, and then had surgery over the summer, and he's 60%. And what does he do? He posts the best start time so far in the competition. These are monsters here, and these start monsters, and this guy, one of the best athletic teams ever put in a bobsled. But he's wounded at the moment.
Look how high his helmet is. He's quite a tall guy. His brakemen are all tall, and that makes it hard to be able to get back far enough to lean yourself down out of the airflow.
Striskin's, his legendary brakeman, said he had to lose 15 pounds in November because he was on the banquet circuit in Latvia for about 4 months. And these guys are just getting themselves warmed up. By the end of the year, 1100s ahead, and Sanders Prusas knows just his team needs some trips. He's got 2 practice trips and 2 race trips in the year. He's got 4 trips in a four-man.
Sanders Prusas watched the gold medal winning runs of Oscar's Melbardis from his hospital bed in Innsbruck, didn't he? He slipped coming out of a team captains meeting on the steps of one of the buildings, broke his leg. Spent most of the fortnight in the hospital.
Break.
Yeah, it was. So good to see him back and looking 100% as well.
There, yeah. Hey, Oscars, good to see you back, and you know, another month. I think we'll see Oscars up there in the Podium Challenge teams. This is such great athletes in this sled, and you know, the guy's an experienced driver now.
Yep. Hasn't forgotten how to drive. He's just a little race rusty, and that means that he's the leader, but there are still 10 sleds to go here in Altenberg. Russia's Maxim Andrianov, 2 Russian sleds now, 9th and 10th after the first heat. Andrianov in 10th place. Teammate Alexei Stulnev just 200s in front of him.
Suspect start time in the first run at the 16th best start at 5:24. Pretty cohesive getting down there, 5:22, that's better. Skid, saw him checking the runners. You can see, well, he's on the inside of the other tracks that you don't normally see, but with the snow on the track, we can get a pretty good idea which side of that straightaway they're coming down. 1100s back in Melbardis, that's related to the start, but the Russians in the 2-man yesterday found some time on the bottom part of the track. And you look at this, 11 to 5. Let's see the exit here. Slingshot into 11-12. Take advantage of the angle. It's down to 1. He's clean here at 14. We could see green numbers. It's even, right to the 100th. I think the Russians are going to have the advantage here. They do. 100. How many times are we going to see this?
Yeah. I mean, 500's quicker in the first heat, 400 slower than Melbardis in the second. He wins by 100th of a second.
Second, third, and fourth are 1200s behind, 1400s behind, 1500s behind.
Yep.
And then these two are separated by 100. So it's four-man bobsledding at its best.
And when you look at them coming down the straight, you can see the clear bits of track that have been cleared by the other bobsleds. They're all within an inch or so of each other's lines. Look at the tracks.
Yeah,
this is actually where he veers off into the snow.
Now look at the speed gain before Kreisel.
Yeah.
Melbardis a little bit better on the, because Melbardis came straight down the middle of that straightaway.
Less snow, more speed.
Andrianov had that little variance that cost him.
Max Mandjanov of Russia, our race leader. Teammate Alexei Stulnev next up, 9th after the first heat in this third race of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action with you. Stulnev, the driver, 200ths of a second his advantage over his teammate. We have seen some very close battles all the way down this top 20.
better of the Russian teams at the start right here. 5:18, 5:21 speed. Not bad. Minor skid. This is good, 2 to 3. Now watch, look how low he is in the Callan. Really good aerodynamic profile. Can he get through 3 to 4? Yeah, not a problem. Listen to these big trucks. Good exit. He's on line, 9 to 10. The Russians find speed at the bottom part of this track with their sleds. They did it in the two-man yesterday, and there's a mistake that's going to cost them. This is another mistake, but he's flying. Makes a couple mistakes, and he's still accelerating away. I don't know if he's going to stay at 1200s. He's got to get penalized. Yeah, he does, a little bit. Well, it's so easy to sit here and critique their runs. But, you know, at 75, 80 miles an hour in this track, those bottoms from exit of Kreisel down. Whoa. Russian music for the crowd. Such a great place to watch bobsledding here in Germany. The crowds, they're so well educated. Look at this mistake, 11 and 12. That two-quarter combination causes havoc. Then 13, 14, you know, it sets you up to come through. This is 14. You know, okay, I don't want to hit the wall. And now he's going to go over to the right. No, he hit there and went pretty straight.
Alexei Stulnev, 8th in Whistler, 7th in Lake Placid, 9th in the first heat with the lead of the race. Still 8 sleds to come. Second in World Cup points in the 4-man bobsleigh competition is America's Steve Holcomb. 4th in Whistler, 2nd in Lake Placid, his home ice, just before Christmas. And he lies in 8th place after the first of the 2 heats in this 3rd race in the World Cup.
Carlo Valdez, Jimmy Reed, Sam McGuffey, another American team from 3 different parts of the country. And Jimmy Reed was born and raised in Garmisch. His parents were in the military. Start time, boy, 5:23. Holcomb's got to drive the perfect line here.
Only 700s up on Alexei Stulnev of Russia from the first heat.
It's down to 6, but that's because the Russians beat him at the start.
Holcomb still trying to learn this brand new BMW built 4-man sled. Like the 2-man high-tech device, BMW engineers have been working a couple of seasons to try and perfect it.
He'd fall back. He's got to find some speed here in the bottom. The Russian sled had problems here. Let's see what Holcomb does. Pretty clean, down to 100th. Holcomb with great speed could catch him on the bottom. 100th of a second either direction. God, another 100th of a second finish.
It's ridiculously close, isn't it?
Well, Holcomb got beat there at the start. By 200th at the start. The first heat, though, Stulnev beat him by 5.
Well, how close is this? First and second at the moment, 100th apart. Third and fourth, 100th apart. 5th, 6th, 7th, 300ths apart.
They got to get an improved start time. Once they get that, Holcomb, he knows how to drive, but boy, without a start, you're pretty naked in this sport. Look at the lines here. I mean, you know, the only person come down better than this is Bertazzo. Well, Holcomb's got the same number of years in the sport as Bertazzo, and exit here of this treacherous Kreisel curve that sets you up from the bottom part of the track. He had good lines.
Holcomb goes to offer his congratulations to the Russians, our leaders, with 7 to go. Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia next up.
Johnsons, Minkins, Zerps, good 4 athletes in this sled. A lot of decathletes in this Latvian Federation. 5:12 start. I think that's the best start of the competition, isn't it?
5:06 we had in the first heat.
I'll take that back, sorry.
No, 5:09 from Hannes Lochner.
Yeah.
These guys, like all the Latvians, making their first World Cup starts this weekend. They didn't go to North America.
This young athlete won his first ever World Cup medal yesterday. 22 years old, they put him right in the front seat as an 18-year-old, and I was perplexed why he has not been on the podium before. He gets fantastic starts, but yesterday, breakthrough moment for this young athlete, and right now he's carrying the goods for Latvia to challenge for medals in four-man, because Melbardis is hurt.
Still a quarter second up on the Russians.
This is a future star. I've been saying that for a few years, but you know, until you get up on that podium, until you knock on that door enough times, it's tough to make the breakthrough. Once you make the breakthrough, it's a lot easier to get there.
Well, like any athlete, believing you can do it and having proved that it's doable, they're two completely different things, and that whole frame of mind changes. And yeah, that first medal is going to have a big effect on Oskars Kiebermannis' career. Plus, not being in the shadow of Melbardis so much.
Look at the way they lifted the sled out of the
so
grooves.
much power.
That energy should go out, not up in the air. So that was a little bit of a technique problem. And here in the finish curve, gets a little high up there in the take-on. And Oskars, hey, nice job yesterday with your first ever bronze medal.
It's a new crew, though, that four-man lineup, so they're going to take a little time to perfect their practice. Now, Nico Walter first on the ice. I wonder if he had a slightly frosty track to deal with. Nico Walter and the team lying in 6th position. This is the man who took the silver medal last year in a German clean sweep of the podium and won the four-man gold here in Altenberg the year before.
Had a very disastrous second run yesterday. He was in 2nd place after the first heat, fell all the way to 6th. His mistake was made up in curve 3 and 4. Threw the medal away. He was very disappointed. He was looking to extract some vengeance in the competition today. And you know, with the resume of winning the event last year, you would expect him to be up there challenging for a top 3 spot. 5:16 start. 5:13 in the first run. So he's already behind Kiebermannis. Got to be clean. 3 to 4. The first albatross on the track. Perfect. Now it's green numbers. But you would expect him to be green numbers. Again, this was the guy who won the race last year. Points even.
This is an indication of how good Kiebermannis' drive was. Nico Walter grew up sliding this track. He comes from Dresden. This is his home ice, and he's barely able to keep his nose in front.
He didn't have the speed.
It's a bit of a slippy, slidey ride. 700ths over Oskars Kiebermannis.
And the crowd erupts. This guy lives in Dresden. As do many of these athletes. One of the favorites.
He's not going to look back on this race weekend favorably. Disaster in the two-man. He's not going to be in the medals in the four-man. 2 years ago, he won. Last year, silver behind Francesco Friedrich, ahead of the great Max Arndt. But this has not been a good weekend for him. Well, maybe the Germans, with all that sled testing pre-Christmas, thought they had something, and maybe it's just not working here.
Well, he's driving the FES sleds. Lochner coming up. He's got an older Walner sled, right?
Don't know what he's driving.
He's driving a Walner sled.
Trying everything.
They're all tested against each other.
Nico Walter leads, 5 to go. World Cup points leader in four-man bobsleigh is Rico Peter. Silver medal in Whistler, gold, his first ever in four-man, last time out in Lake Placid. Can he break into the top 3?
Boy, nice proficiency at the start, 5:17. Ooh, comes out of that first curve, a little bit of a tap. He's got green numbers. Good velocity they must have had to go from red numbers into green, but he just tapped between 2 and 3.
Teammate Bert Hefty made his seasonal debut in the World Cup yesterday in two-man, underwhelming. Rico Peter had the match of him there. Understand that Hefty is going to start driving four-man this season as well.
This is pretty quick, 5 to 12. He takes that German line with that little high exit of Kreis over 20 hundredths. This is a good run.
Let's see if he has the high scare in corner 15.
Hard crash into the wall there.
He was way up high in the first heat, much more controlled in the second, and a 3/10 advantage. That's what he needed.
Whoa, there they go. Makes the Swiss happy.
That's what he needed. He's a quarter of a second out of the medals from the first heat. That's a good run. He might still get in the top 3.
He's got a chance.
He was in the bronze medal position behind Nico Walter and Oskars Melbardis here 2 years ago.
Now, they just stopped the sled way down. Now, that's an old Swiss trick to stop it down when the snow's coming, so it takes an extra 20, 30 seconds before they clear the track. Look at the way they hit the sled. So he comes out the back and runs to the front to hit the push bar at the same time the other 3 guys hit the push. You want that cohesive to hit that start perfectly, and then getting in is half the trick here, man. That's, look at the arms come up, the push bar. I mean, it's choreography on ice, and those are beautiful pictures.
And what about Rico Peter in the last 24 months? Hasn't he just developed into one of the best all-round bobsleigh drivers that we've got right now? And so has this kid, Benny Meyer of Austria, just from almost giving up the sport in November last year, came on a tear through the season, and now it looks like he can do no wrong. 4th place, a 10th out of the medals in the first run.
Okay, they had a 20 start, 21 or 19 would be acceptable. There's the 19.
That's more than acceptable.
Great speed,
excellent
velocity. Young 22-year-old. The thing I like about him is he constructs the sleds with his father. He knows the sleds top to bottom, and I think that's an element of the sport that a lot of the drivers don't have anymore.
Snow blowing in hard. He's 1,800 up over Rico Peter. He's chasing Alexander Casinoff of Russia, who will follow him down the track. 2/10 up.
Good speed, too.
Best
slingshot onto the bottom. Losing a little bit back to Peter, who was
still top speed, quicker than the Swiss sled.
Peter crushed the wall there, down to 1,300ths.
He's going to see him in front of the Swiss at the line. Not by much, just by enough.
Still 4th place. Look, there's his father, Manfred on the right, Franz Joseph Hoppe. Great weekend for Austrian bobsledding.
Career equaling best yesterday in 2-man. 4th place in the 4-man has got to be a career equaling best.
No, he had silver medal in St. Moritz last year. He had a breakout European Championships.
This year,
another young 22-year-old. I mean, there's kids. These are the future stars of our sport right here.
This year, 13th and 10th so far. Now on a track he knows better.
Great
no
weekend.
worse than 4th. Could be in the medals still.
The Austrian girls won. Christina Hengster won a bronze medal.
So for the 2nd year in a row for Christina Hengster on this track. 3 sleds to go here in Altenberg to decide the medals. Alexander Casinoff of Russia does not want to see any more snow falling. He's 3rd in the World Cup points, won the season opener in Whistler. He was 8th in Lake Placid, 3rd after the first of the 2 heats here.
And a bronze medal in the 2-man competition yesterday with the 15th best start time.
Yep.
So when you can take a deficient start time and win a medal, that tells you how good. Look at the rip in his suit.
Yep.
That's probably from somebody's shoe that spikes hit that.
6 years since Zubkov won a medal for Russia on this track, silver medal behind Max Arndt back in 2011.
It's one of the older suits. You look at the teammate behind him.
Yep.
There's some good delay here.
Might just be the snow. Barnist Fry, and the 62nd countdown has started.
Look where he is. So he sets his feet in the ice.
Yep.
A lot of times people get off this back block and run forward. And then they want to hit it exactly at the same time. And then you want to run down here and just jump in. You know, a couple 220-pound guys. Get in, get down, and the guys in the back of the sled, they just don't ride around like a sandbag. They got to feel themselves down the track. They got to know where they are in every curve. They got to feel with the sled.
Little clatter from 2 to 3, gets through 4, 5, okay.
Especially on a track like this, I think experienced people riding the sleds is very, very important to how you negotiate this track and get to the bottom with good speed.
A 10th ahead of Benny Meyer from the first heat. He's doubled that at the Kreis at 1,900 up.
I don't know if there's many people better than this.
He's driving away. He was only 300 out of the silver medal. Don't forget yesterday, he picked up a spot.
Wow, is he flying? Casinoff, 4th place at the Olympic Games in both 2 and 4, and I think he's now positioning himself as a favorite. If he gets a start time like some of the other German teams, what a weekend he's had. Yeah. He's got at least another podium finish.
Absolutely right. A 2nd medal for him. He's currently the leader with 2 to go. Helping with the sleds, the Russian girls. That's Anastasia, who was on the brakes with one of their sleds yesterday.
Okay, how do these lines look? A little drift, tap once, pretty quiet, into Kreisel. Let's see if he makes that little steering at the end, let the sled go up, and then jump out of that. She's treacherous turn.
Well, Casinoff again, we talked about Rico Peter being a great driver in 2 and 4. Casinoff is really coming on. 2 to go, both German. This is Francesco Friedrich, last year's race winner in the 4-man and the 2-man. He won the 2-man yesterday, going away by a country mile, but he's 24 hundredths off the lead of the first heat. Casinoff might be a worry for him.
5:10 first heat, 5:9, gets closer to that start record that's been around since 1996.
Riesenwerte wieder einmal von Francesco Friedrich.
2-man, boy, this guy is the youngest ever world champion in 2-man, and he's got a lot of world championship victories already, a lot of World Cup victories. He's building himself a case to be one of the best ever, and rival Eugenio Mani of Italy hasn't got as much experience in a 4-man.
Straight down the center, but only 600. Casinoff's going to do it again, isn't he? He's going to snatch a medal from the Germans.
Casinoff's like he did yesterday.
Oh, horrible couple of corners from Friedrich. This is not last year's winner's performance. He's going down, he's 2nd at the moment. Benny Meyer won't get him, but he'll be in the medals. But Casinoff leads with 1 to go.
2nd day in a row. Look at Casinoff on the left. Just, hey, this is normal. Reddy Spies, Leo Leopold, the 2 coaches, you know. Again, like I said, this kid's got 2-man figured out. He's not as consistent in the 4-man.
2 drivers from Saxony in the field. Neither is going to win a race here in Altenberg. Just 1 German sled remains, but it's a Bavarian. A Bavarian who is only making his 3rd ever World Cup 4-man start. And
now
Friedrich,
this is the distance comparison in the Kreisel. This is a graphic that shows you how much ice you actually use, how much of the track. And look at Casinoff. He used a lot less.
Friedrich used it because he went up high, but he misjudged it. Look, he came out, hit the wall.
So the straightest distance between 2 points, a straight line.
But that dive bomb out of the end of the Kreisel, that is high risk, and he just misjudged it. Let's see if our first heat leader can hang on here. We've had 2 first-time race winners already this weekend in men and women's skeleton. We could be on for the triple. Johannes Lochner from Berchtesgaden.
5:09 in the first run, and this is a young 22-year-old whose uncle, Rudy, won the gold medal in the World Championships here in 1991. And this kid is another rising 22-year-old superstar.
2 World Cup starts ever in 4-man. He was 11th in Sochi 2 years ago. He started the season in Whistler with bronze. Can he go 2 better here?
This is his race to lose right here with the lead he's got. But this track that we call too tough to tame, the Darlington of bobsledding, this track doesn't give it up to anybody.
I couldn't tell you the last time a Russian won here, so this is good for Lochner. 4 tenths up, uses the high line, nails the landing.
All he's got to do is 13.40. There's 2 more albatrosses in the track. There's no give here. Right here, he gets through here, he's the winner.
Johannes Lochner, nearly 4 tenths clear. He's going to claim his first ever 4-man victory. The 3rd to do so.
4,100.
Wow.
I don't know what that sled's got in it, but listen, first ever victory. Another rising star. And how old is he?
Johannes Lochner, Sebastian Rofka, Joshua Bloom and Christian Rasp are your winners.
I bet you talked about the British sled having 130 years of age in it. What do you think these guys are? I bet you
About
less than 100.
60 years in total between the four of them, not quite, but yeah.
Germans are so deep. But this was an impressive performance. We didn't expect this out of Lochner.
No one wins by 4/10 here.
And he's got 1 bronze medal, 3 starts in the World Cup. And he's a 2-man specialist.
Yes.
Hello.
Not any longer.
Hello.
Well, from the Solitude Bob Club, the money they invested in this brand new Valna 4-man, that's what it's done. Do you think they feel good about that investment now?
We'll probably see our friends from the Bob Club up there in Wittenberg next week.
Yeah.
Well, the German crowd likes what they've seen all weekend. 4 out of 5 events won by German athletes. And in defense of the rest of the world, the conditions for training and practice were horrific all week.
Yep.
These racing conditions, totally different from the practice. I'm not making any excuses, but boy, if you can't practice in race conditions, it's tough to match home track advantage. But Johannes Lochner, boy, we were impressed here. And he won by 4/10 in a 4-man bobsledding. It's usually a 10th separating 2 or 3 sleds on the podium. But this young rising superstar in the sport, I think he caught everybody's attention today. And the average age in this team, I bet you, is about 24.
Yeah. Probably not even. Johannes Lochner victorious. Alexander Casinoff snatches the silver away from Francesco Frugic. Benny Meyer 4th. Rico Peter 5th. Nico Walter rounding out the top half dozen. Stephen Holcomb driving up into 9th place. And Lamindine getting the upper hand over his teammate Ollie Biddulph. Disappointing second run for Biddulph, but no dramas for the British teams, which will come as a relief after a tough weekend of competition that saw a slew of crashes for the British sleds. Well, that makes life very entertaining indeed for the German coaches. Francesco Frugic was kind of seen as the 2-man star, Nico Walter maybe as the 4-man star. Now they've got 3 drivers that they have to try and deal with, because Johannes Lochner has announced that this is his coming out party as a 4-man driver, his 3rd ever World Cup 4-man race, and he hasn't done an awful lot at the junior levels in 4-man either. He was very much more of a 2-man specialist to start with, like Francesco Frugic was, but boy, has Lochner arrived in spades. He had a quarter-second lead in the first heat, 24 hundredths ahead of Francesco Frugic, who I remind you won this race last year. So we've now had, in the last 4 seasons, 4 different German drivers winning. Max Arndt 4 years ago, Nico Walter 3 years ago, Francesco Frugic 2 years ago, Johannes Lochner this year. And the man before Max Arndt's couple of wins, Andre Lange, won the Worlds here in 08, he won in 2010, and in between time, Karl Angerer, also a winner on this track. So the Russians have been in the medals. Alexander Zubkov has had 3 silver medals on this track in the last decade, and the only other non-German to take a silver medal has been Oskars Melbardis a couple of seasons back. But Alexander Kasyanov, what a season he has been having, the Russian, with victory, then 8th place, now 2nd position. He'll be vying for the points lead with Rico Peter, who's had a 2nd, a 1st, and a 5th. So Peter will have the points lead, but not by an awful lot over Alexander Kasyanov. It'll take the Germans a long time to catch up because they all came back to train instead of racing in Lake Placid, but it doesn't stop them winning gold medals. Altenberg in Germany, the end of the 3rd race in the 4-man bobsleigh World Cup. Rico Peter with the points lead from Alexander Kasyanov. Stephen Holcomb in 3rd, Alexei Stulnev, the Russian, in 4th, and Benny Meyer in 5th, ahead of Lamindine, or in fact tied with Lamindine on 456 points. So all sorts of different names to conjure with. Francesco Frugic comes up the order, so does Nico Walter, so too will Johannes Lochner from a standing start. He's had a bronze, a no score, and a gold this season. Lochner suddenly announcing himself as one of the 4-man drivers who must be reckoned with. Don't forget, from here we also go to a German track in Winterberg. And then we also have the German track of Königssee in Bavaria, his home ice. And we'll be racing there in World Cup and in the World Championship this season. So things could only look better for Johannes Lochner. Gold in Altenberg, beating both local drivers. Francesco Friedrich third, Alexander Casinoff second. And Johannes Lochner, his third ever World Cup start, his second World Cup medal, his first World Cup win. What a day for the Bavarian. Well, a slew of yellow jackets from Germany, first and third on the podium, and Alexander Casinoff in the silver medal position. Flowers being presented to Johannes Lochner and his crew. Lochner with a young team, Sebastian Mrówka, Joshua Bloom, who's so often on the back of his two-man, Christian Rasp, who was yesterday, Alexander Kasyanov with Alexei Zaitsev, Alexei Pushkarev and Max Belugin, and Francesco Friedrich with Candy Bauer, yesterday's winning brakeman Martin Grotkop, and Torsten Marcus on the back handles. His big smile there on the left of that little quartet on your right-hand side. So Friedrich won both races last year, won the two-man and bronze in the four-man this season. But Johannes Lochner, first win, will stay with them a long while, particularly as he's come into somebody else's backyard and taken the gold. Well, that's it for our action from Altenberg in Saxony. Join us next week in the Hochsauerland, close to Germany's industrial heartland in the Ruhr Valley. I'm Martin Haven for John Morgan and the rest of the FIBT TV crew. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back with much more action in Winterberg. Join us then.